everybody. We still have a few moments before we'll get started, but as you can see, we have a very full house tonight. And I would love to ask if you have an empty chair near you, would you raise your hand for me so I can see where it is? All right, I see one chair back that way, one right here, a few back there. Okay, thank you very much. All right, it'll probably be 5 or 10 minutes, and thank you for being here.
Hello, everybody. Hello, welcome. Oh, it's so nice to see such a big crowd here and so many familiar faces. How about before we really get started, I just want to see how many of you have not been to East City Bookshop before? Oh, great. Okay, good. A few people. Um, well, welcome to all of you who have been here. We love you. And welcome to people who are here for the first time. We hope that we'll see you again. My name's Laurie Gilman. I'm the owner of East City Bookshop. We're really happy to have you here to celebrate Lou's latest novel, The Wilds, a novel in 5 acts. Before we get to that, just a few little housekeeping things. Restrooms are upstairs to the left toward the back of the shop. You can purchase books upstairs if you didn't purchase your book beforehand. If you did purchase your book on Eventbrite, it will be over here by the info desk if you haven't picked it up yet. We'll have a signing line afterwards. I think it will be over here. That's the last word I got, but you'll see the table, so you'll know. And we'll have a chance for audience Q&A at the end of the discussion. So get your questions ready. Okay, on to the main event. The publication of a new novel by Lou is always a reason for a big celebration here at East City Bookshop because it's personal. Lou is not only an amazing writer, as many of you here know, he's a wonderful neighbor, a friend, and a very important part of the fabric of our community here. This is absolutely my favorite kind of event and really makes me think about why I became obsessed with opening a bookstore in my neighborhood. These are the things that I think are the most important, bring together the arts and the community to share and discuss with. So thank you all for being a part of that. Also, many of you know that Lou has been an incredible supporter of East City Bookshop since before we opened, and I am forever grateful for that. The Wilds is the, Lou, what number novel is this? 11. Okay, I knew I was going to miss one if I didn't ask. So Lou's 11th novel. We have had the honor of celebrating, I think, 4 of them now here since we've been open, which is incredible. It's an incredible amount of work. This novel is as brilliant as his others. In the words of the New York Times, because I couldn't say this any better, Louis Bayard reinvigorates historical fiction, rendering the past as if he'd witnessed it firsthand. He's a former instructor at George Washington University, and he was recently the chair of the PEN/Faulkner Awards. His work has been translated into more than a dozen languages. In conversation tonight with Lou is Ron Charles. We're very happy to have Ron here for the first time. Ron is an award-winning book critic for the Washington Post. He has a very popular newsletter. If you haven't signed up for that, please go and do that. We want his numbers to break all records for subscriptions. We want a book e-news to get all the subscribers. I have to assume, that he is a book critic for the Washington Post, and I have to assume that if you love books and you live in this area, you are familiar with Ron Charles's work. Please help me welcome Lou Bayard and Ron Charles.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome to East City, Ron. This is your first time, isn't it?
Well, I was so honored to be asked to talk to you and to read this really, really delightful book. I realized I have known about you before I knew you.
Correct.
I reviewed Mr. Timothy for the Christian Science Monitor more than 20 years ago. And when I moved here in DC, I started editing your reviews for the Post.
And fortunately, it was a favorable review.
Yes,
otherwise that could have been awkward.
Very awkward, and I wouldn't be here today. That was your first turn, I think, at historical fiction. What the genre that Henry James condemned.
He did, that bastard.
Yeah. What is it that drew you to the dark side?
I think it was trying to get out of the gay and lesbian ghetto at the back of Borders. There was a shelf. There was a shelf way in the back. So I wanted to get in the front of Borders. How touching to even speak of Borders now. How touching. But I had this idea for writing a book about, well, Dickens was my favorite writer growing up, and Tiny Tim was my least favorite Dickens character. I just didn't believe him. I thought he was lying through the whole book.
God bless us, everyone.
Yeah. Screw that. Yeah. So I thought let's write a book about Tiny Tim as an adult. Let's take away all the crutch and all the sentimentality and see what's left. And what was left was this very dark, as you may remember, very dark kind of noir, Victorian noir set in 1860. But I realized if I was going to write this book that I needed to learn about Victorian England, which required research apparently. And so I had to kind of dive in. I was very intimidated at first. I went to Abby. Where's Abby? My research angel. She was over there.
From the Library of Congress.
From the Library of Congress, yes. So it's like I said, Abby, help me. I don't know how to do this. It's complicated when you first start, right? It's a tricky process. But I got my own study shelf, which I still have, and just dove in and realized what a joy it was to explore these lost worlds and to try to reanimate them. So I consider myself the accidental historical novelist because it wasn't my intention, but I needed to do some damage to Tiny Tim. So that's how it all started.
And you've been at it ever since.
Been at it ever since.
It's your genre.
Yes. It was accidental, but I think it was the suitable genre too for me because I do love traveling. I love the time travel part.
Let's talk about your latest wonderful novel, The Wilds. Now, most people know the importance of being earnest, the picture of Dorian Gray, the tragic trial for gross indecency, but I think that's it, right? I mean, that's all most of us know. There's this wonderful moment late in your novel. It's 1925, so Oscar's been dead for 25 years at this point in your novel.
Right.
And it's in London, and it's at midnight, and one of Wilde's sons, Vivian, confronts his father's old lover, Lord Alfred. Tell me, Vivian, aren't you just slightly a bit curious? Lord Alfred asks. About what? Vivian says. About what happened. Vivian says, oh, I know what happened. And Lord Alfred says, no, No, you don't. That's where we all are, isn't it?
Right, that's where we all are about. Well, first of all, let me step back. Most people, in my experience, don't even know that Oscar Wilde had a wife and children.
I didn't know about the kids.
Yeah, yeah. So starting there, yes, and um, there's so many accounts of Oscar Wilde. I remember watching the 1997 Stephen Fry film, which is was it 97? Wonderful, wonderful film of Oscar and Bosie. But Constance, his wife, is just this sort of sad figure, kind of off on the side, looking sadly as her husband goes off with Bosie. She had no kind of interior life, and so the more I learned about her, the more I learned that she was a feminist reformer. She was a big adherent of Victorian dress reform, taking away the corsets. Can I get an amen from the women in the audience? Um, she was a writer. And she edited Oscar's own work. So they were partners, like they were very much equal collaborators in their thing. So why isn't this woman in the world, the world of fiction? Why isn't she there? And what about these kids? Yes. What about these kids?
But you discovered that. So what drew you first to Oscar Wilde?
Oh, what drew me to Oscar Wilde? I suppose because he's just part of that gay toolkit you get when you first come out. It's like, oh, keep moving. He's that first that when you first come out, it's like it's Oscar Wilde and it's the Golden Girls, and it's just sort of it's part of that whole retinue of things. But no, but Oscar, I've loved his work. The Importance of Being Earnest, I consider the most perfect play ever written. It's an extraordinary piece of work, written, by the way, as his life was falling apart, as the Marquis of Queensberry and all the legal apparatus was being arrayed against him. He was writing this exquisite work of farce, which doesn't have an unhappy moment in it. I mean, there are complications, but it's delight the whole way. So I think, I'd always been aware of his work ever since reading Richard Ellman's biography back in the late 80s, if anybody remembers that. And so, but it was really the family that drew me more than Oscar. It's like, well, we got to give these people a voice.
As you looked into his life, did it give you a new impression of the plays?
That's a really great question.
Or do they just seem completely divorced from his life?
No, I don't think they were entirely divorced from his life, but one of the things, so this is the struggle I had going on because the fate of Oscar and his family was so dire.
Yeah.
In so many cases was so sad. I didn't know if I wanted to write a book about it because you have to be a little bit happy when you get up every day to write. It's like I want to say I want to be happy. How do I get happy about this very sad family history? But when I looked at Oscar's plays, I realized that with the exception of Ernest, there's melodrama and there's comedy, and they're entwined at all times. So the tragedy and the comedy they're cousins of each other. And so I thought, well, why don't I work against the grain of the sadness by creating a Wildean high comedy? It was a wacky idea at the time, but I realized it was the only way I could write it. And then as I started writing it, I realized, oh, this is the way through, is to make them all characters in an Oscar Wilde play. So that's why it's described as a novel in 5 acts, because that's the way I perceived it. I saw them as engaged in a performance of some kind.
The Importance of Being Earnest is 5 acts? Is it Oscar Wilde in 5 acts?
No. Oh, yes. Good point. Importance of Being Earnest is 3 acts. The other plays are 4. And it was going to be a 4-act play, but then the ending of that was such a bummer that I just needed to add a 5-act just to redeem the whole process, just to get them to some place where I wasn't just like wanting to kill myself. So it started as it was going to be 4, and then it became 5. So now it's Shakespearean. It's Shakespearean. That's what I'm calling it.
In each of your historical novels, they're heavily inflected with the tone of the subject. I'm thinking of Charles Dickens, Edgar Allan Poe. There are many great Oscar Wilde lines that even people who know nothing about Oscar Wilde know these lines, right? I can resist nothing except temptation. I have nothing to declare except my genius. Don't try that when you arrive at customs. It doesn't go over well. My wallpaper and I are fighting a duel to the death. One of us has to go. I mean, we all know these lines.
That was his dying line, right?
Yes,
That's,
apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Oscar Wilde is really easy to hear, to parody, but don't write parody. This is not a parody. It's something closer. It's something like a hybrid imitation. How did you go up against the wittiest man in the English language?
With some trepidation.
I mean, some of the lines are his, but some of the funny lines are yours.
They are. Well, thank you. Thank you. So, thank you. Here's the thing. It was the same with Dickens. I realized I can't beat Dickens at his own game. So let's come together. Let's make this a collaboration, involuntary on his part, and involuntary on Wilde's part too. But to me, it's all about homage. If you look at all my historical books, they're all homages to some writer, Poe, or I mean, Jackie and Me to me was my Edith Wharton novel. So it's all about, to me it's about honoring these people. So in that, let's embrace Oscar. Let Oscar tell me what he would be saying in these moments, and let it be pleasure and fun. So, and it was a hoot to write this book because I could write funny.
And as you immersed yourself in his work, the voice just started to speak to you. You started to hear it in your own work a little bit.
I guess my husband's back there. I talk out loud a lot when I write, so I am testing it all the time, and in the way I suppose a playwright would. So I'm doing it in accents too, and
that sounds really tedious.
And but if I could make myself laugh, then I would think, okay, let's keep that.
Well, let's talk about one side character, Lady Wilde. I mean, she does seem heavily inflected by Oscar Wilde's own work.
Oh, she's Lady Bracknell. Yes, for sure. There are actually two Lady Bracknell characters in this book, because why stop at one? She's the best character ever. So Lady Wilde, just for those people, that was Oscar's real mother. This is a real life historical figure. Fascinating woman. She started her life. She started as an fiery Irish Republican poet named Speranza.
I didn't know this.
Yes, but then she married Sir William Wilde, who was a knighted. I think he was an ophthalmologist or something like that. Anyway, so she kind of recalibrated. By the time the book starts in 1892, she is a widowed and impoverished salon hostess living in somewhat in ignominy in London, but still trying to keep the dream alive. But she was fierce. I mean, she was a fierce and determined woman, and I hope that comes out in the book. She's a tough broad.
She's one of many great characters. Would you read us a passage to give us a sense?
Oh, well, sure. Okay, thank you. So this is since we're talking about Lady Wilde, this is a meeting between Constance, Oscar's wife, and Lady Wilde. They're gathered together in this farmhouse in Norfolk. They're on holiday, as the English say, and Lady Wilde wasn't. By the way, Lady Wilde wasn't really there. Historically, I just wanted her to be there, so that's why she's there. I should also add, are there any actually English people in the room? I apologize, because I'm going to do the accent, because I have to. It sounds weird if I don't do the accent, so I apologize in advance. So they're gathering together in Lady Wilde's very dark room. Constance says, "Madre, might I ask you something?" Cara mia, of course, that's my Irish accent, I should say. So Lady Wilde is Irish. "Did you ever find yourself favoring one of your children over the other?" Lady Wilde closes her eyes and draws up the question like sap. "Oscar over Willie, you mean?" "Or the other way. I'm only wondering if you had moments where one of them felt peculiarly dear." "I suppose," says Lady Wilde, "I always favored the one who didn't live." This Constance wasn't expecting. Isola, the baby girl living out her 9 years on God's earth in the full bloom of her family's love before being claimed by a sudden implosion on the brain. Lost forever, though more than once her mother has tried to retrieve her via seance with unsatisfactory results. Are you asking, says Lady Wilde, because you favor Cyril over Vivian? Constance is glad of the darkness now. I don't always know that I do. Or if I do, why? I suppose Cyril being older is a bit easier, sunnier as a rule. I suppose, too, without the nanny here, the prospect of 2 boys underfoot. My dear, please don't exculpate yourself on my account. Vivian is well looked after, and his presence here would be superfluous. Why? Because he is still a child. Well, surely that's all the more reason to. No, you don't understand. He lacks as yet a soul. And until he acquires a soul, he has no greater claim on you than a dog or a pony. Oscar was the same way, you know, purely animal. Until at the age of 7, he said, and I shall never forget it, Constance, he said, Mama, that wallpaper is perfectly scandalous. And I said, oh, there you are. For in that moment there flashed out a soul, and our relations could ascend to the next level, where I'm happy to report they've remained ever since. So it shall be with you and Vivian before long. Do you really think so? Oh, I do. You know, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Vivian turned out to be the artist between the two of them. Solitude does that to a sensitive soul. It is meant to comfort, she knows, but does it cast her in any better light to be starving a child into art? Is that really how artists are made? She herself grew up in acres of solitude, and what is she now? Oscar has a friend, she says, coming tomorrow. Lady Wilde gives the news its due gravity. It was only a matter of time, I fear. My son has never been the sort to pine away for his art. Why do you think he goes to so many parties? Why do you think he writes in such an obscenely collegial form as the theatre? I always thought it was so that he might be multiplied. But you see, I don't want him multiplied just yet. I'm selfish enough to want him undivided for a bit. Oh, my dear, said Lady Wilde, extending one of her arms like a bridge and waggling her bejeweled fingers. I gave up on that long ago. So, thank you. That's Lady Wilde.
That's great.
Thank you.
I haven't heard it, but I've heard the audiobook is great.
The audiobook is great. I do a cameo. I don't do that part, but I do the interstitial parts that I didn't write. I read courtroom testimony and letters and things like that. There's a wonderful group of actors who do the rest of it.
You got several narrators.
Yes, because different POVs, Constance, and then Vivian and Cyril, they each have their own POVs. So three different narrators, right?
Yeah. Great.
Isn't it awesome?
Yeah.
It feels I feel very spoiled by the whole thing. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
There is a conversation, a very tense conversation in the first act of the book when Oscar's talking about, or someone's interrogating him about morality and art. And he insists, as he did in real life, that they had nothing to do with each other, that art had no morality at all. You've written so many novels. You must have thought about this to some extent. Do you agree? Is there nothing moral about a novel?
Well, I have no morality at all, but I think the book itself sides with Constance ultimately. I think Oscar would have sided with Constance. I think by the time he gets to Reading Jail, if you read the Ballad of Reading Jail, that is an intensely moral work. So I think all his art for art's sake stuff was the product of his own privilege. And once he had suffered, I think he understood that there was something more that art could offer.
Was that the last thing he wrote?
I think it was certainly the last thing that was published. He never wrote another play, sadly, after his imprisonment. Sadly, he never saw his children again. And what makes it particularly sad is they adored him. He was very devoted to his children and they to him. He played with him. He got down on all fours in a way Victorian fathers didn't do. And if you look at the Happy Prince, the Selfish Giant, these wonderful children's stories, they were originally composed for his children. So they remembered him fondly. Vivian, decades later, he wrote a memoir called Son of Oscar Wilde that came out in 1952, I think. And yeah, he had vivid memories of his father and his mother. He adored them both. So the arc of the Wildes, as eventually became clear to me at the end of the fourth act, was that this is a family that wanted to stay together, and life didn't allow for that.
Jeez. He did not die in jail, right?
No, he got out of jail. He kind of went to France. and spent a little time in Italy. He spent some time with Bosi, his lover. By the way, that was the gentleman who's coming tomorrow in that piece I just read. But he eventually died in Paris of meningitis.
Oh, geez.
It supposedly emanated from an ear infection he got in jail, in Reading jail, and that never got fixed. So.
Ah. Well, tell us about the research you did. I mean, you say you knew the plays, you probably knew the picture of Dorian Gray, but you must have read what, letters? I mean, I don't know what's extant. Are the journals, diaries? What is there?
What is there? Well,
newspaper articles about the trial?
Lots of newspaper articles about the trial. The trial is amply documented. The testimony, you can get the testimony. One of the pleasures of doing the audio book was reading the whole "The Love That Dare Not Speak Its Name" speech.
I'm about to ask, how do you hold a trial if you can't even say out loud what you're talking about?
Well, gross indecency.
It was all euphemisms through the whole trial.
Yeah, but they had testimony from the rent boys that he patronized, and they were boys. Many of them. Oscar would be Me Too'd, I think, if he were around today, for sure. But no, that's why it was such a scandal, is because because the nature of the trial, they had to talk about stuff that had always been kept under wraps. So,
but where is that material?
Oh, it's everywhere. Well, Library of Congress has it, but you can find it online, digitized, okay. And yeah, the trial that part is amply documented, and that's why the book spends relatively little time with it. It's all about what happens before and after the trial. But there were letters. The book actually begins with a letter that Oscar wrote to Constance early in their marriage, and it is a love letter.
It is very sweet.
It's a love letter. I mean, this was not a show marriage. This is not a sham marriage, a mariage blanc, as the French would call it. They were genuinely in love. Wow. But at some point, Oscar did have. I should add, for the first 30 years of his life, Oscar was predominantly heterosexual. All his attachments were to women like Lily Langtry, Florence Balcom, who later became Mrs. Bram Stoker, another fraught marriage, but it was only in his 30s that he kind of first was introduced to same-sex love. But once he walked through that door, there was no coming back. Yeah.
Jeez. And so where did you find Constance's voice, which predominates in the novel? Are there letters by her? I mean, could you pick it up somewhere?
Or
did you just have to invent it?
A combination of both. There are letters. She wrote a lot. She wrote a lot of articles, but they're not scintillating articles necessarily. She wrote about the best way to dress your children, or she was very practical. Women's magazine articles. In fact, Oscar edited a women's magazine in the 1880s. Now, Constance, I kind of invented in some way, because in real life she was an accomplished and intelligent woman, spoke multiple languages, but she was also very shy, as she probably would have had to be, married to Oscar. But I thought I wanted to make her an equal, so I decided to make her a character in an Oscar Wilde play, and it was wonderful to hang with her. I think she's hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
I love Constance. I would say most of my books are love letters to women, whom I love as in the helpless way that so many gay men do love their women. I love Constance. I think she was so strong and so and fierce in real life and on the page.
Yeah, that's a spectacular character. In the acknowledgments, you mentioned corresponding with Oscar Wilde's grandson, which just sounds like, talk about a seance. This guy's actually alive.
He is alive. He is 80 or 80, maybe around 80. His name is Merlin Holland. I should say that they changed their names. Backing up. So because of Oscar's scandal, his wife and children had to flee England, and I mean flee. The two kids were packed off with a German-speaking nanny on a train, and they didn't know where they were going or why. They were never told what was happening. Jeez. And Vivian didn't learn until he was 18 what had gone on. But they changed their last name to Holland, and they scattered around between Italy and Germany, and they were basically in hiding. They were on the lam. Yeah. So
and the plays, I suppose, were not performed anymore for a while.
Weirdly, within 2 years of Wilde's death, there was a revival of Ernest in London. It didn't take long for him to come back. Are we hearing? Yeah, further away, back.
So they could continue to live off royalties from the works.
Well, yes, the only one who could do that was yeah. I think it's Oscar. I think it's Oscar speaking to us. I think we are having a seance and we don't even know it. Here we go. We're coming in help.
So he gave you insights. He knew his grandfather. Is that possible?
Yes. Oh, he didn't know his grandfather. No. So Vivian, the younger son. These were the days when boys would be called Vivian. He was the survive. He was the one who survived.
Right.
So he late in life got married and had a child. I think he was born in 1942. So he was an older dad.
And this is the guy you're corresponding with?
Merlin Holland. Yes.
Oh.
Merlin Holland.
Did he know his grandmother?
No.
Okay.
They had died decades before he was born.
Okay.
But he is a Wilde scholar for sure.
Oh.
What the interesting thing to me is that they didn't change their name back to Wilde.
Yeah.
And I assume there are reasons that they didn't do. So Merlin lives in France, and I got his email address and sent a very kind of humble, vassal-like, email to him. But he was lovely. And I think he was touched because I didn't need to know about his grandfather. I got enough on Oscar. But I did want to know about Vivian because there isn't, other than his memoirs, there's not a lot about him. So tell me about Vivian. And I think he was glad to do that because he adored his father, who died, I think, wound up dying late 60s. So yeah, it was lovely. And then, I sent him a copy of the book and it felt like this chain of, sending this chain back down to the original Wilds. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we won't talk about the end, but can you very delicately talk about the end? What I mean is the end is, I don't know how to even ask this, but what compelled you to write that fifth act, which is so surprising and changes the tone of the novel, I think, pretty dramatically?
Yes, so it did stem from the sad end of the fourth act, and it did stem from that realization that the Wilds needed to be reunited. So the fifth act is a non-historical attempt to do just that, to bring them back to the site of the first act. I should say that I picked this particular time and place because this was the time, this holiday in 1892 in Norfolk. This was the point where Oscar and Bosie first became lovers for the first time, and hence the time where the Wilds first began to split. It's not clear when Constance learned about it, but in the book she learns about it by the end of the first act. But that's the point where everything kind of pulls away and everything goes south, if you will. So that to me was the locus, that was the place to kind of start and to end with, and to imagine an alternative destiny where they might have remained together despite the historical currents against them. And that was where it went.
Fascinating. Any movie plans for this book?
From your mouth to God's ears. No, although there's some agent somewhere is pitching it around, and she wanted to know who to send it to, and it's like, well, I don't know. Any Emily Blunt, somebody, there are so many wonderful English actresses of a certain age that
would be so good at this. They'd be desperate to play this part. It's a great part.
I think so. We just need to tell them that. We don't even at this point have a UK publisher, which is strange to me.
Soon, very soon. Surely.
Soon and very soon, as the gospel song goes. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder sometimes if it's because it's an American author who wrote it. I don't know whether that frosts them, but I also think publishing is weird.
Yeah, they'll get over that. Well, you all must have some questions. Is there a mic, or should I just stand up and yell them out? Stand up and yell. We'll have to repeat them because we've got people watching online and they want to hear your questions too. So, yes, sir. Yes.
The question was, did Bosie go to jail too? No. He did not. It started as a libel suit. The Marquess of Queensberry left a card at Wilde's club and said to Oscar Wilde, posing sodomite. Yes, he misspelled that word. Um, so Oscar, at Bosey's encouragement, sued the Marquess for libel. He lost that case because the Marquess had sent around detectives to gather evidence about all the stuff that they were up to with the rent boys and all these other things. So, and then of course lost the criminal case after that. But Bosey was never charged. In fact, was never in the courtroom when any of this was happening. He had an interesting and sad afterlife as well. He eventually he converted to Roman Catholicism. He eventually married and had a child. It was an uneasy marriage from the start, and he became a journalist and a prime litigator, I guess, because he was Scottish. That's one of the things that Scottish people do. They litigate. But unfortunately, he wound up libeling the wrong. But he got sued himself for libeling Winston Churchill and spent in the 20s and spent a year of his own in jail for that, and was a virulent. Yeah, he was just he was a not attractive character, so it's hard to think about them as a love story that was a true love story. But Alex Ross in the New Yorker did a nice piece about him and as an example of arrested development, a very promising young man, a poet himself. The love that dare not speak its name is his phrase. It was from a poem called Two Loves, and who could have done great things but was frozen by the scandal into this role of Oscar Wilde's mistress, and it was hard for him to recover from that. Hard for any of them to recover. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was in Reading this summer, and
I saw your pictures. Yes.
Banksy did a painting on the side of Reading Jail of him escaping down a sheet, and they had to cover it up by plexi because everybody wanted to try to chip it off or add to it. Yeah. And then he is carved in iron and quotes of his near the jail. And I just wanted you to sort of talk about the sort of infamy to fame.
Oh, the infamy to fame thing of being in Reading Jail. Now it's a tourist designation, right? Yeah, which is amazing because he was broken down by the Reading Jail, physically and emotionally and spiritually. They wouldn't even let him write for the first few months of his time there, and even when whatever he wrote during the day, they would take away at night, and then he would have to start over again the next day. But I will say that he wrote in Reading Jail one of his greatest works, which is De Profundis. It's a long letter to Bosey, and it's a letter that's both angry and bitter and betrayed. He felt very betrayed by Bosey, but also kind of reaches to a height of redemption, almost Christian redemption, by the end of it. And the fact that he was writing this, in ink on whatever piece of paper they gave him that was then snatched away at the end of the day, the fact that he was able to write this extraordinary work is such a testament to him. But again, it gets back to the whole question of morality. It's such a moral work. It's a work about the things that we do to each other and with each other. And but yes, I'm thrilled to know that he's now a tourist attraction. He didn't actually escape from Reading Jail but we know that, right? But sadly, but I think he got out. He was originally sentenced to 2 years, so I think they cut it down to a year and a half. Yeah. Oh, I should add, by the way, that homosexuality was illegal in England until 1967. Yeah. So, yeah.
Lou, I'm probably not the only person here who's seen you sitting in a corner at Peregrine. And I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about kind of how you work and if going there means you're not distracted by the distractions of home, but somehow you tune out the distractions of people saying hi and people bumping into you and whatever. And I'm just curious about
the process. Yeah. So I've just been outed as a denizen of Peregrine Espresso, where I spend a lot of. Now my cover has long been blown. So I think honestly it stems from the fact that I got a journalism degree and a master's degree in journalism. So that is the one master's I have. And so I got used to being around noise and people, and that it went feeling normal. So when I'm home, it feels very quiet indeed. So I like a certain amount of white noise and black tea is my formula. And if people say hello, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not always working on fiction. I have other things going on, but no, I just like it's a lonely thing being a writer, right? It's you're just alone a lot. It's a very isolating job. So I like just being in the world for a bit and then hustling back home. But and I love Peregrine. Yes.
Shallow question that late insight, but just in the acknowledgments you mentioned, I think clothing related questions. Someone helped with that. I'm curious if you could tell us a little bit about sort of
Clothing, yeah. Is Alden here tonight? Is she here? She is there's my research angel there, but my clothing angel is Alden O'Brien. She works for the daughter DAR, yeah. And she's fabulous. So I will say to her, okay, there's a theater. It's a play. It's in London. It's 1925. What are they wearing? What are the men wearing? What are they? Yeah. And she will figure it out for me or help me with it. For me, clothes are super important for my characters. I always need to know. I don't need to know necessarily what I need to know what they're wearing at all times because the clothes tell you so much about the society and about the caste system and the sumptuary laws or whatever were going on that so yeah, the clothes are big for me. And yeah, thank you for asking that because I'm a big clothes horse on the page, not in life. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes.
Can you say more about your research angel and how much she's helping?
Oh my gosh, she's right here. Um, so Abby it's a similar situation. Abby, who's sitting here, and that I don't think. Do you know Abby? Oh, you'll meet afterwards anyway. Um, so Abby, as I mentioned, was the one who first guided me into the golden glade of the Library of Congress, the reading room, which I assume most of you have been there. You need to go there if you haven't. It's one of the most extraordinary rooms in the world. Very quiet. Um, and yeah, so I just email Abby. She's now retired. I'm still emailing her and bugging her. It's like, so what do I think? Was there a whale that beached itself in the Thames in 16, something like that? And we go through it, and Abby reads the book 2 years later and go, oh, that's where the whale comes from. So it's just she's a wonderful. I acknowledge her every day, in every book, and I'm so grateful for her. So thank you, Abby. Um, and she's a dear friend too. So it worked out great. Yes. Do I know what my next subject is? Beats hell out of me. There's a bit of I was kicking the tires of a nonfiction book for a while, and which may still happen. Um, and I have the kernel of an idea for a novel. I should add that my professional situation is a little unsettled because I was telling you this. My editor and publicist were laid off 2 weeks ago, and pretty much a big chunk of the Algonquin team, which helped bring this book, the last three books, into the world. So I kind of don't even know where I stand anymore and the crazy world that publishing is. So, but I'm hoping that I'll find a home there or somewhere else. But publishing is a weird and tough business. That's a long way of saying no. I don't really know what I'm doing next.
One more question.
Last chance. All right.
Well, you can get your book signed, right?
Yes, yes. Over there. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you.
Yeah.
The next step. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Ron. If everyone could fold up your chairs and put them up against one of the bookshelves. Don't stack them too many deep because they'll start sliding down and hurting people. So give us a minute to get the table set up and then we'll have a signing line. Thank you.